I'd just like to let everybody know before we start the podcast, there may be the odd swear word during Fighting on the Inside. Also, some of the subjects that we cover, especially those surrounding mental health, some people may be affected by these conversations. If you are, then you can find information and help in the show notes. But please, other than that, enjoy the show. So, another massive shout out to our big sponsor, Mangata. Any companies or small businesses, large businesses out there looking for payroll, look no further. With 20 years of UK and global payroll experience, you'll be incredibly good hands. They've got very competitive margins and very, very easy to set up for agencies and candidates. And once a candidate has been referred, they will be contacted within 30 minutes. You really can't ask for much more. So you know what to do. Go down to the description, click on their website to check them out. It's mangatapayuk.com. And thank you so much to Mangata for sponsoring this podcast. Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Fighting on the Inside. As always, I need to say a massive thank you to our sponsors, Mangata, Real Power of One and Wow Hydrate. Without these guys, we couldn't be doing what we're doing. And as you know, this podcast is all in aid of anti-knife crime charity, Gloves Up, Knives Down. So today, myself and Johnny...
You stuck with me. I'm fixtures and fittings. I was cleaning when you got here this morning.
Do you know, I'm quite upset about this situation because the more I know you, Johnny, you're an annoying person to be around, isn't he? Too much banter from this one. So today, guys, we're joined by Leon McKenzie. Now, it's a really interesting guest for us because not only has Leon been a professional boxer, successful amateur boxer, he was also a professional footballer.
Wasn't an amateur boxer, but
you weren't an amateur boxer. Well, fucking well done, Jamie.
Just so you know, is that Johnny that gave you the information? Straight to pros.
There was him. To be fair.
Oh my god!
No, he didn't.
Really.
But to be honest, I think I just assumed.
We were talking about the memory situation, so
this is it.
You know, we've had many conversations. No, I went straight into professional.
I think that's where it come from. You know, I think I just led with the assumption that you must have gone through the amateurs.
No amateurs. I was a youth team academy player at Crystal Palace.
Did you get a load of? Did you get a load of stick when you did that? Jump straight into the jump straight into the pros.
Yeah, everyone wanted to beat me up, for sure.
That's what I'm talking about.
Is that because you hadn't gone
every
through
fight?
the rites of passage?
Every fight I had wasn't. Even though there were some journeymen at the beginning of my career, every fight I had, it was like they upped their game.
You had a target on your head, basically.
Yeah, 100%.
Was you told this, or you sensed this, or they actually?
I could sense it. I could see it in the demeanor. I could see it all, their characteristics, the way they looked at me, the way they were at the weigh-ins, the way all the energy was there. You know what I mean? So, but what it did, what none of them did, unfortunately, know is that
you can fight.
Well, as much as you want to bring it to me, I'm not a dickhead.
Yeah. Well, look, I guess that could be for many reasons. You've just said you were a professional footballer before you went into boxing, but you also come from a fighting family.
Yeah, I'm from a famous boxing family. My dad, Clinton McKenzie, being a former British European champion, went to the Montreal Olympics in 1976, fighting Sugar Ray Leonard.
Wow.
On the way, obviously, Sugar Ray Leonard went on to be 5-time world champion, I believe. So it's not a discredit. It's not a bad loss, you know what I mean? And then obviously my uncle Duke, being a former 3-time world champion, which he was like probably one of the first people to do it. Very, very successful in boxing.
Yeah. So do you think then people having a target on your head, do you reckon it's a bit more because of that? A bit more because of your sort of family and like a lot of expectation on you?
No, I think
that, did you feel a lot of expectation because of that when you moved into boxing?
No, I think football has this sort of stereotype, interesting, fascinating thing about it anyway. So they have great reputations from the outside. And I guess within boxing, because I know of the industry, I'm really a boxer turned footballer, but not many people would know that really. Football set up for me because that's the path I chose. But I'm really a boxer turned footballer. I was in the gym from best part of 7 years old, watching and seeing all the old school fighters,
Was it you were going to point to me now? He's going to point to me.
I mean,
he said old school
there's
fighters.
old and then there's
I knew-
ancient. There's old and then there's ancient. But
Did your was it a case of which opportunities came first?
yeah, so we did think about it. I had like those sort of dreams to maybe go down the boxing route, really go down the amateur route, go down the ABA route, the sort of Gate Cups or whatever they are, the international sort of stuff, with maybe a view of going on to like sort of GB and trying to push right really for that. But I guess football took off for me at a time. I'll tell you a quick story, which is the honest truth. I was in a bit of a transition period, about 14 years old. And I remember I was, doing a bit of training and, doing some pads, sparring with a few people and, I loved the fact of it, liked it. It looked quite good, but I could fight a little bit of an awkward southpaw and I had the right DNA. But my dad woke me up one morning, must have been at about 5 o'clock in the morning, and he was like, "Champ, let's go for a run. Let's do it." And I looked at him and I was like, do you know what, Dad? I think I'm going to just go with football. Literally, that was a true story. I'll tell you that today.
Was he not disappointed?
No, he just smiled. He just smiled. And he's like, "All right, champ, cool." Like that. And then, sort of rolled over, got up. And then obviously, football, I wouldn't say it was an easier route, but easy in terms of when I obviously found boxing at a time in my life. At 35 years old, I was 35 when I jumped into professional boxing ring after an 18-year professional football career, and I played at every level from Premiership all the way through Championship, League 1, League 2, and a little bit in non-league. I scored in every league, won 2 promotion medals, and scored some massive goals in the time. A couple of seasons had in the Premiership, and some fantastic money. Wish I was still playing today because I wouldn't be sitting there probably.
Because I know when you start boxing pro, straight away, old boys like me are thinking, why would you leave football to box? You're on a regular wage, and you're not getting punched in the face.
Yeah, but what you got to understand is, and this is where, so Curtis Woodhouse, obviously, I played with Curtis actually at Peterborough, and I remember when he used to come into the training ground. This is when I was like flying. I was like a top striker then. And he used to come to the training ground with black eyes. He was a bit of a nut anyway sometimes, Curtis. He's got that sort of Sheffield, he's a bit of a nut.
Hard.
Well, he thinks he is. He's just a bit of a, he's a bit tapped. Yeah. So he used to come in and he used to be like, and I was like, what's going on? Like, why are you all beat up all the time? And he's like, Lee, I'm gonna probably go into boxing. I was like, yeah, whatever, mate. Yeah, like leave it out. You're playing like decent level of football, earning decent dough, but I found it so inspiring in terms of his journey, in terms of being a 26-year-old former England international. I think he did play Premiership football, but to completely leave that life with to go into a sport like boxing with no guarantee. And if you ask Curtis, he had a fair share of fights. If it weren't an easy task.
Yeah.
And again, he had the footballer tag. Everyone, steps up their game. Curtis, before he became a British champion, was knocked out, I believe. Lost some really tough fights. Finding journeymen hard and going through that whole learning process, because he's never really had any amateur fights either. So he might have had a few, I can't remember. But when you're going through that process, it is like quite inspiring in terms of what he actually did go on to do, to beat Darren Hamilton for the British title, who's obviously a little bit more seasoned in terms of experience. That was fantastic. But for my own journey, it makes it a little bit different, because if you ask Curtis, well, at 35 years old, would you have gone into a professional boxing? And he probably would have said, no chance. Most people at
retire at 35.
Yeah, so most people at 35 years old would generally retire, right? So for me to go in after an 18-year football career, because I'd already retired, so it wasn't like I was at the top of my career, Johnny. It was like I've retired and I had about a year and I weren't really in a great place, if I'm honest. So I know Tyson Fury says about the story and the whole mental health, depression thing, whatever it is, but I kind of spoke about this way before it even became that kind of fashion and topic, right? So not to take anything away from him, because, you know, inspiring in a lot of ways too, but in my journey, the people that know me, that are close to me, know that after football, I wasn't really in a great place with a lot, and depression and things that I had to fight, certain demons I had to fight. So not only jumping in the boxing ring at 35, you know, yes, I wanted to try and win something.
Well, it sounds like boxing was more of a crutch for you, medication for you, rather than.
I would say. Do you know what, Johnny? I'd say when I look at my journey of life and the ups and downs in it, I would say it was a healing process for me to let go of so much pain and things that I'd gone through in my life, and there was something about me that wanted to fight. You know, and if I go way back and look at my last fight in 2017 for the Southern Area title against Cello Renda, that was like a fight of the year, but it was a toe-to-toe fight. But there was so much involved with that fight. Although I lost the fight, my heart didn't lose. It was more of a I'd gave everything I could, and I left my heart and soul in that ring. So that's why I retired the next day.
So winning would have been a bonus, but the way the fight went, the way it
was perfect.
It's perfect for you inside. It quenched your thirst.
There was no more, as Rocky said, there's no more in the tank. Like there's no more to give. You know, that's why I retired the next day, because I'm now 39 years old at the time. I've fought for an English title, lost on a split decision to Jermaine Smile, which I should have won. But again, what boxing teaches you, I got to about 38 years old, and I always remember the training camps and the what my body was doing and certain things, and I had to be sort of 12 stone bang on. I'm sort of best part of 14.5 stone now, but I noticed that when I was getting to championship weight, I was finding it harder to make the weight. And I didn't, because I'm a good pro. I was a good pro, like everything great.
You lived the life.
I lived the life, but for some reason, these two particular fights, I was like, oh, Dad, because my dad was my coach and trainer, and my best friend, and we went to spar with Eubanks. Actually, we had some real. I mean, I used to go all over the country to spar with anyone by myself. I never really used to take my dad. And that
father or son.
Sorry.
Father or son, you said Eubank.
Sorry, father. Junior. Okay. Sorry, Chris Eubank Jr. We had, like, you know, like I say, we were sparring all over the country to, you know, I sparred with, you know, Billy Joe many times, Yard, whoever they were, do you know what I mean?
Some fighters in there, yeah.
You know, James DeGale. Like, I kind of learnt my trade doing that. It was a scary place to sometimes go into certain gyms by yourself, without your coach, without your dad, and know that, you know, what I knew about myself is that in those rounds of sparring, and some of these guys are trying to take your head off, by the way, regardless of my experience, what I knew is that there's every time when that round's over and you come back to the corner and you are like so tired and you don't know how you're going to go out for the next round, but your pride, your heart, there's something that makes you go out. That's where I learnt my trade, and I was holding my own as well, right? And then that year I had the English title. I think sometimes what I learnt about it is that I overtrained.
Yeah.
And Eubanks, it was about maybe 3 weeks, for about 3 weeks before the English title fight against Smile. And my gosh, we went there, and Eubanks Jr. was a little bit more. He's very matured now.
Yeah. There's a back.
He's got. You can see the growth in his personality now a little bit. You can see that he's learned a lot of things. But where he was back then was probably a little bit ignorant, arrogant, and everything that comes with it. Went into it, didn't really say hello to me, didn't say hello to my dad, nothing. Literally, just very strange atmosphere. And I was like, "What's going on here?" You know, like be a little bit. Oh, he's doing all right. Thanks for coming down. You've come all the way to Brighton. That wasn't the case, just very cold. But I understood. Like it's his way of, he's about to put on gloves, he's about to go in, right? And it was a good spar.
Isn't it ironic that both of you, sons of former champions, that were fighting maybe with the same chip on your shoulder, the same target on your back from the establishment. So now you two in there. So he's trying to treat you like that. And he's probably got a chip on his shoulder thinking you don't respect him. And vice versa.
I think I always respected him. But what he did do is make me, I had to fight. I was a bit of a box fighter anyway. So I'd always get sort of sucked into fighting because it was part of what I did. He was extremely fit, a lot younger than me. And I was like, it was probably too much of a tough spar to have before the actual English title. And that's one thing we did learn from it, because I tell you what, I didn't recover for about a week,
proper
I didn't recover for about a week because I was just going with him, and I'm 38 at the time, and he's what is he? Probably about 27, 26 then. Like he's going for it, you know what I mean? And I just realised that this guy's he's really fit and so forth.
Let's just go back a bit, or let's go back a few years. Now you're a youngster growing up in a house of fighters. You're making a decision whether or not you want to box or you want to play football. What was home like? What was home life like? What was your drive, your ambition to? Was it a good, happy home? Was it safe? Was it comfortable? Was it stable?
No, I had some great childhood moments, but I also had some challenging ones. So one of the hardest things for me growing up was seeing my mum and dad actually break up. It really affected me in such a way. It damaged me. And I was only about 9 at the time, but I've been through some places where a child shouldn't be. And I've seen some things a child shouldn't see. And you only understand that once you do some psychology around the whole
of course.
Psychology process. And my childhood has affected my adulthood quite a lot. And I say that with confidence in terms of like I was, I had a lot of women influence in those, worlds. I was introduced to women at an early age. I kind of was molested by an older woman when I was about 10.
Wow.
I thought it was pretty great back then. But as you,
it's so funny that later on,
as you get older, and you only realise that I've got my own children, right? So I've got 4 beautiful girls, and I've got a son who's 25 now, and my girls are my everything. But when you actually look at, everything deeply, you actually understand sometimes where your childhood can take you. So I had a good positive childhood, but at the same time, I had to go through some stuff. I went through bullying.
I was going to say, what did all of that do to you? How did that translate into your
attitude? A bit like the Rocky 5 movie. And when I watched that film, it rings so many bells because, as obviously it's his son in the movie, right? In Rocky 5, and what he was kind of going through with the bullying and I had that. And I was going through that, and I used to wear glasses. I was a bit of a little bit of a sweet boy. I had like curly black hair, then not got no hair now for a reason. Got married young and that. so
I'm off to Turkey next week, funny enough.
But Yeah, I went through that process of getting bullied, and I found it really hard, especially after that, the parents breaking up and so forth. But I think what was special about me is I never kept it there as an excuse to not go on and achieve what I wanted to do. Although my dad was a successful boxer and my uncle Duke was successful, I wanted to do something within my own right in my own life. So yes, I went down the football route first, but when I asked my dad and my uncle, do you think you could have done what I've done? They will say no. Mm-hmm. There's no way if you flip everything around, they couldn't just become a professional footballer at 35 years old. Do you know what I mean? It's it's unheard of. So what they gave me was a greater insight into being something. So I've seen my dad, I've watched my dad, I've observed my dad wake up at 5 a.m, go for runs. I see the way he trains, I see the way he dedicates himself, I see what's going on, I see when he's really like in that zone, I see when he's really like not himself. All these emotions are going on at such a young age, and I'm watching what I can see, and obviously Duke as well. I'm seeing all these things going on, and I think it molded me to want to be something. I wasn't quite sure of what it was going to be, but I knew that I was going to be something.
Right, guys, another massive shout out to one of our sponsors. Now, I know if you're a boxing fan, you have definitely seen Wow Hydrate knocking around. These guys do an incredible range of health drinks to prop up your sporting ventures. You have the electrolyte mix in multiple different flavours to help with rehydration, and also your protein mix, which contains collagen, which will help for recovery. Now, listen, if the likes of Tyson Fury is drinking these things, then it must be a pretty good drink. But don't take it from Tyson, take it from me. Go down into the description, click wowhydrate.com and check them out and buy some for yourself. Keep going with that training with Wow Hydrate, and thanks so much to Wow Hydrate for sponsoring this podcast. Can I ask, because I'm really interested, you've clearly painted a picture of someone who's so fucking determined, even right into your later years, going from an 18-year football career to then decide to go into boxing and to do all of those things you did, travelling around at the age you were, just starting your career, fighting all these young fighters. The determination in you is obviously insane. But as a young kid, you've said that you've gone through some shit and you were bullied and all of that sort of stuff. When it came to first boxing, obviously you were boxing training as well as you were playing football at an incredibly high level. You obviously throw yourself into things, but that. Were you angry because of what you'd been through? Were you angry because of the bullying? How did you find how was your experience in the boxing gym? And did you find you had to use any of that emotion or anger? How were you as a boxer? Like, as a kid when you went in there, did you find that as an outlet? Like, do you know what I mean?
No, I know what you mean. I wasn't angry. I was quite a sensitive kid. So the reason why I learned how to fight was just to be able to protect myself. That was the only reason around wanting to fight. It wasn't there was no ego to be like, yeah, I'm bad, or like I think I'm bad or whatever. I just wanted to know that what fighting gave to me was a confidence to know that, okay, if you do try and hurt me or whatever it is, I know that I'm gonna really have enough tools to do some damage.
So you weren't tempted to be the bully?
I hate bullies. I hate bullies.
And it's always a fine line. Those that are bullied usually.
Yeah, correct. That's true. That's another psychology situation where you find who's been bullied would go and bully. But I used to protect the bullied. Yeah, the bullied at school and stuff. So I actually went on to kind of do the opposite because I knew what it did to me as a person, and I was quite sensitive. Around them times, it was all a little bit different to where generations are now. Anyway, I was a mixed race kid. I had my black friends, I had my white friends. I just wasn't really fitting in any way. So it was I was in the middle, and that comes down to identity. I lost a sister to suicide through identity, in terms of she was a mixed race, beautiful girl, but the last conversation I had with her was, I don't fit in with my black friends, I don't fit in with my white friends, I just feel stuck, I feel like a little bit lost with life. Next day gone. So
How old were you then?
I was 24. She was 23.
Yeah.
During football?
Yeah. I was playing at Peterborough. Actually, yeah. Not biological sister, but my sister. Yeah. Yeah. And these things. I never. Fighting's never been a tool to push any weight around. But anyone that knows me, even through my football career, because I knocked a few players out during that process in that career, which is, it's just always been a confidence to have. Anyone that knows me knows that, sort of Leon's quiet.
Don't mess with him, basically.
Yeah, don't let the sweet boy face fool you.
How much influence, we all have role models or people that we look up to. How much influence or how much stability did your parents, because you're talking about how you viewed life as a youngster. Yeah. And sometimes as a parent now, you realise you missed one or two things. Do you think your parents clocked that? Do you think did they contribute to building you as a young man?
I would say, to be fair to them, they tried. I think with sometimes, and you only realise it when you become an adult and you go through your own circumstances. So I never blame my parents for,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We miss things.
Yes, we miss things, right? Yeah, exactly, and so forth. But I know that they know firsthand that, not that they neglected certain things, but they definitely missed certain areas because they were focusing so much on their breakup and focusing so much on divorce or whatever it was, that sometimes you miss the bullying. I remember one time going back to my mum saying, like, in tears, saying, "Mum, I can't go to school. I don't want to go to school. Like, please take me home." And she didn't. And I never forgave her for it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It was like tormenting for me at the time. How can you drive off? Just those little things. But when I have that conversation to her, it's like oblivious. She's like, "What?" Like, she loves me to pieces. But it was she doesn't even recall that moment. But I did. So it's really interesting that you say that. My dad was very influential in, I'd say, I learned how to become a man. He was very old school. Came from Jamaica. I was in a household of 5 brothers, all boxers. And my granddad, his dad, was a fierce old school Jamaican. And, there was some licks that happened in the house. You know what I mean? Like, so he's...
Tough love.
He was very tough love, and my dad had the same morals. He was my biggest fear growing up as a child. Like, it wasn't anything else outside. It was like coming home. If I'd done something bad, I got to face my dad. That was my biggest fear. I was like, nah, that's why I kept a little bit. Do you know what I mean? I never really got in trouble. As a kid, I could have gone down the route of being bad. I could have. Do
you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it was a fantastic thing for me, because if it would have been too easy and I'm just coming home and I'm just like, my dad's just like whatever. A lot of parents maybe neglect that a little bit in terms of really fully focusing on what's truly going on in your child's life. And when we're bad, we need to be taught a lesson.
Do you know what? It's really interesting you say that, because when we're talking about parents missing things, I mean, ultimately this is the conversation we're having here, and gloves up, knives down, and what they do is about knife crime. But I just want to touch on you saying about parents missing things, and with you it sort of translated that they missed that you were being bullied. But obviously you're talking about your dad. He was tough. He had tough love. He raised you as obviously a really well-behaved, nice lad. You were bullied. Sometimes parents miss that they've created an environment that can create their child angry, and they could be the bully. And we miss that. And then all of this stuff that's going on in kids' lives that sort of gets well out of hand outside of parenting, and it all flies under the radar, leads to the sort of thing that we're talking about here when we're talking about gloves up, knives down, and that having that effect. I just find that as really interesting to see you being the victim of that, but yet coming through, being so successful in sport, doing the boxing, doing all these things, and finding your way to channel what you went through. I think if more of these kids that are out there were clocked, the angry ones that are doing the bullying, that are, you were a victim of those sorts of kids, and how.
Jim, I hear what you're saying, but I think, and sometimes things like this, we think we're probably focusing on the individual, on the youngsters, but actually we should be focusing on the parents.
On the parents, 100%.
Correct. And I see that more so where I am now. I mean, I do mentoring at Crystal Palace for the under-18s now, and like you say, the parents have so much more to maybe give certain and to answer for, and there's certain areas where that's at. But for myself and my own journey, I would say yes. I've been through some horrendous times, challenges, adversity, tribulations, whatever you want to call it. But I've used it as fuel. There's a lot, I think more so maybe in this generation, we may be, the younger generation maybe, use those, not that they're an excuse, but it will become an excuse for them not to go on to be great.
Yeah.
And I think I'm a true testament on knowing that, listen, I've been rock bottom, I've been to prison, I've had successful careers, I've walked many paths in life, but there's something about me that translates that, but this guy still keeps going, this guy still keeps trying, this guy still, he's like, ooh, like he keeps coming.
Tenacious.
And that's the ability to have, and I try and implement that into my children, because sometimes, my son and my daughter, my eldest children, I've had a very tough sort of upbringing in terms of me and the mum and dad splitting up. They go through their things and so forth, and I've seen their little things of like, maybe blaming,
of course,
blaming this, blaming that, and so forth. But what I try and tell them is that, listen, at the end of the day, no one's perfect. I've made some mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes along the way, choices. But in my head, I'm like, don't let my mistakes stop you from going on to do what you need to do in life and go and achieve what you need to do. From those conversations, they're flying.
Can I ask, Leon, obviously, it sounds like sport's been a massive part of your life, and obviously you're talking about everything you've gone through. How important was sport, do you think, for your development, both football and boxing? How much of that helped you? Like Johnny said about boxing sounding like it was a crutch to you. Would you say without sport in your life, or without that to turn to at any point in your life, do you think things would have been different, and how would they have been different?
Of course things would be different, but I think when you grow into a sporting family, it's very hard to not be in sort of sport. It was implemented into my life without me even really knowing. So I kind of took that on. But I think to answer your question, I do truly believe, yes, if I didn't have sport in my life, I mean, I went to drama school before football. Imagine that. Do you know what I mean? So don't get it twisted. Like I am working on getting into I'm working on some other things and ideas, But yeah, I always feel like my character was to just try and do the best I can, and I put my heart and soul into whatever that is, and that's where your success comes from. In it doesn't matter what you do, as long as you try and enjoy and you got that passion from doing something. I always feel like there's jobs that we do that we don't really want to do. I do jobs now after successful careers, things I do that I don't want to do, but there's always that something that I'm so passionate about, which balances it all up.
You seem to have found an understanding of your path in life, of what's happened in your path in life, and able to rationalize it. So now as an adult, I know you go and you talk, you motivate people, you try and help them find the way. For you, and now looking back on you, what do you think made you? What do you think broke you?
Broke me or
both,
made me?
Both. Made you and break you.
What broke me as a person? What broke me? After my It's a good question, Johnny.
It's a very tough question.
It's a tough question to ask.
Because these things that break us give us strength to make us.
Ultimately,
so they stand out.
I don't think it falls on one fundamental thing that broke me. I think there's been many punches in my life that I've had to take that has brought me to a place of that brokenness. And when I say that, I've experienced depression probably all my life. haven't really coped with it great, but I've coped. I think along the way in my journey, whether my first maybe sort of heartbreak was maybe my mum and dad breaking up. Okay, that's one chink off, right? Emotionally, weren't really dealing with that. Then you go through the bullying process. That's another situation. Then you go through, you know, certain adult things that I was presented to that I shouldn't have been presented to. Okay, that's another thing. Then I go through my own life. Then I have my son at 18 years old. Unfortunately, had my son with the wrong woman, but I don't regret my son. And then you start learning about life. Then I go through, you know, my first sort of major divorce. And then you kind of start thinking, well, then you sort of get back into my football career. I think to answer your question, Johnny, I would say injuries really psychologically damaged me and put me in such a bad mindset that I wasn't in control of what my body was doing anymore. But I had so much love, and I loved scoring goals. I loved the you know, to being that footballer, and it was getting taken away from me left, right, and centre, and I could not control it. So the lowest part for me in my life was at the back end of my football career, and being in that lowest place, and knowing that I'm so tired, I'm so drained, I feel that life will just be better without me. And, you know, I tried to take my own life. No qualms about it at all. Just felt like, and I had my babies it wasn't even that, couldn't say, anyone that knows me knows that my children are my everything. But unfortunately, my mind broke down so much that I just didn't feel I could go on. I'm so tired. So that's where my main damage goes from. What did come alive for me about my character is when I actually went through that, and we put all that aside and we've got over that now, you know, okay, we're into the next chapter of life. I've ended up going to prison now. So now I go to prison, and I've obviously been through the suicide attempt and everything. And now I'm like, I'm playing Premiership football a few years prior to that. So I'm in prison now, and I'm looking at these four walls. And I remember me going in horrendous. It was the fear I had, just not knowing what to expect. There's badder people in there than me. Like, I'm not going in there as a bad person, but when the screws, when they shut the cell door, I was on my own because the person that was my cellmate wasn't coming at that time, and I was just on my own. It was just me, silence in this cell, and my life just flashed past me, and I burst into tears, and I was like, right, I need to take a deep breath. I need to get through this process. But what I understood about my character is that, okay, Leon, you know, don't go where you once were, but what are you gonna do now to make this right? So got myself a job straight away.
In the prison, yeah.
In prison, got myself a job straight away. Started you know, just keeping myself to myself. The Muslim brothers actually looked after me in that they were very they sort of ran the show in prison, to be honest. But for whatever reason, I don't know why, and I didn't pay no one or anything else, but they just had my back. They just had my back, and I don't forget that. Because I don't think without that kind of unity in there, I think it would have been a lot different for me. But I was okay. I got through that. But what I did was being productive. I ended up writing sort of a daily diary. Wrote an autobiography while I was in there, but little did I know, when I'd finished my sort of 4.5 months inside, it was an ACAT prison, by the way, so I was with like murderers, rapists, paedophiles and all that, you know, all that sort of level of people. When I came out, I didn't know that I'd be you know, straight away someone come up to me and wanted to publish an autobiography, like, do you want to do a book? And I was like, really? Like, oh my God, like I've been writing since I've come in here, like literally everything.
Like it's meant to be.
So yeah, that happened. And then I was like, kind of just, you know, because I got sort of my pension money from football, so I wasn't like not, I was chilling really, like okay, but it's not going to last forever, right? So and I had a big house back then and so forth, and things actually got worse again. Went through another divorce with a fantastic woman, but again, when you're going through those cloudy moments, things can just come up and catch you and grab you and keep you there, right? So went through that, and then that's when I sort of decided I kind of lost everything, and I'm not saying like materialistically, but I'd lost my identity. I didn't know who I was anymore. I weren't playing football anymore. I came out of prison. I didn't have no identity anymore. He's like, who is Leon McKenzie? I didn't know what to tell you. Like, what do you do? I don't know what to tell you anymore. And it messed with my head a lot. So I was a little bit lost. And then like one time I said to my dad, I said, Dad, like, I'm not feeling good. I'm not feeling good. And this is the sort of first time I sort of spoke openly, and I was like, I can't be in that place again, Dad. My dad was one of the people that found me in the hotel when I tried to take my life, and there was a bit of a thingy connection there, but I had to speak to him and say, like, Dad, I can't, I'm not giving up on my children again. I'm not doing it. But Dad, I want to jump in the boxing ring. And he was like, let's go.
He just went straight away, no question.
Let's go. It's time. And I was like, cool, it's time. And I'll tell you what, in all fairness to me, I mean, you know it as well, but I trained hard, man.
Yeah. You had all of that bubbling up in there, right?
Just my whole journey. Just my whole journey wasn't just, I was just getting in to prove a point and, look at this footballer coming in. But it was so much more deeper than that. And then that's why, when we did get to like English level and, those sort of Southern era titles, yes, they're not, amazing titles in the respect of, but from what I've come from, if you look at my journey, that's where I find my specialness in my character, because I don't think that many people could have really let them come out of prison and just.
So that's what made you.
I think so.
So that's like, that's amazing, because it's almost like that's when you'd fought your whole life. You really had emotionally and with everything, but then obviously that moment in prison, that turning point, you came out and started really fighting, not just figuratively. I
think that's the turning point. I think that's what makes me really, because you got to understand, I have nothing. Like when I lost my family, I don't wake up with my kids anymore. Some people who actually end up like that. That's why you see so many people, homeless people, become homeless, lose their complete minds, and you think, wow, I remember that person many years ago, but they're on the street just like this, like gone, right? I couldn't do it. Kirkland's been there. There's so many people that have been there, right? So it was a transition for me that I needed to get hold of, and I made the choice to do that, and that's why.
So this next question would probably shed a different light onto what people expect. What does tough mean to you? Being tough, what does it mean to you?
Being tough means to me now, at 44 years old, being tough is to be vulnerable, in terms of, when I say that, I would never have thought I would have been bearing my heart and soul to the world in terms of the pain that I've been through. I would have seen that as like, if I would have been showing you tears or showing that kind of weakness inside, to say to everyone, to say to the world that I'm weak because I'm feeling a certain way, that for me is a strength in itself, because only when you are perceiving that, when you are speaking those, when I say to people now, I'm not doing too well today, cried a lot maybe last night, sort of suffering a little bit, you don't understand that the person that you're telling, or someone that's listening to that, they might be going through the same thing. What you're actually doing is
up that
having your own therapy, but at the same time, you're still helping someone else, and that's the biggest growth lesson for me. That's the biggest thing for me, to be able to to speak. That's what shows strength in me. I don't care about the judgment. I don't care about, oh, we've heard this story before. Oh, you know, pity you, you know, because there is some people in this world that unfortunately don't have good hearts, don't have a heart like mine, and just are not kind. But when you park them aside, there's a massive percentage of the world that does actually get it and can be empathize in what you're, you know, what you're going through.
Would you say that younger Leon would have been petrified at the thought of showing them kind of emotions? Been petrified at the thought of like showing that he was weak?
I kind of hid my emotions when I was younger.
Isn't that common though? Isn't it?
Yeah, I kind of sort of hid it, and a younger Leon I was quite shy in places.
So what would be your advice if younger Leon was sat right in front of you?
My advice to me, be yourself. Fear is the biggest fight for, I think, most of us. And I think if we get past fear, whatever that may be, then you'll be able to overcome whatever it is that, you know, there was, you know, there's been so many fearful moments. I've seen players fold under fear of not doing well, fear of you know, not achieving what they're trying to tell themselves to be and do. Fear of losing fights. Did I fear losing fights? Yeah, I feared of losing, but what I didn't fear was what my heart was going to do. I was never scared of, I didn't want to lose, but I was never scared of what my heart would end up doing. And I know that either way, if I do lose, you ain't taking my heart away.
Yeah, complete comfortability with yourself.
And that's the biggest thing I would say to myself. So, you know, a younger me would just be like, just keep being yourself, and you know, keep following what you need to follow, but understand what your heart is all about.
Hello everyone. So, for those of you that may have noticed how good myself and Johnny have been looking throughout this podcast, that's because we are donning Real. Now, they produce high performance sportswear inspired by boxers. Boxing is as much mental as it is physical, and Real believe that it's a combination of physical and mental strength. That is where your performance potential lies. Unify body and mind to realize the power of one. Real fights for enhanced mental well-being. So whether you're a seasoned boxer or new to the sport, Real will empower you to test your limits. You can find them on Facebook and Instagram at Real Power of One, and you can find their store and their newsletter over on realpowerofone.com. And take it from me, this genuinely is some of the most comfortable and high quality sportswear that I have ever worn. So it's realpowerofone.com for sportswear inspired by boxers. And thank you so much to Real for sponsoring this podcast. So, Leon, I just want to, obviously, I've noticed you're wearing Fight It, get the help, get help and talk. Is this a brand of yours? Do you want to tell us a little bit something about that?
Yeah, Fight It, get help talk. One of my best friends, Michael Dewberry, actually kind of brought this to my attention. And then obviously I kind of bounced off it because I kind of loved it, you know, the idea of what I do when I'm speaking and so forth. And this is something that I had to implement in my life. So these 5 special words for me are so special to the point of, like, you know, when you see something and you visualize something, and these 5 words saved my life.
Yeah.
Fight it, get help talk. And the fight is whatever you're going through. So that, you know, there's over 200 types of mental health conditions. You know, your mental health issue might be different to mine and so forth, but you still got your own things to fight. So that's what we have to fight. It is whatever that may be, you know, could be bipolar, could be schizophrenia, whatever it is, depression. Depression is my it.
Yep.
So that's what I have to fight. I know what it is. Fine. The get help is that's the position you have to put yourself into. Go and get the right help. Just go and do it. You have to force yourself. You have to make sure that you do the right things to get the right help. Because sometimes we're going through it. We can find it hard to maybe speak out. But this is what I'm saying. This is what I talk about finding that strength, having that strength. This is where it's not because you're being weak, because you're going to get that help. This is where you find the strength to go and get that help. And then the talking is the therapy part. Mm-hmm. So the talking is the important part. And that's the bit where everything's going to make sense. Because when you talk, you heal. And then when you heal, you're able to go on to see the next day. And it's all about not beating yourself up.
Can I ask you something? Is it come to the stage now where more people are willing to talk openly about this, and this has always been a problem? Or has society made us think that we aren't what we think we are, or we aren't worth what we'd like to be worth?
I think the love you have within yourself will only really tell you what you're worth. Like, you have to love yourself to understand your value in life, regardless of what anyone else thinks. If we go along in life and think, of what, this person's thinking, what that person's thinking, if you've got that value within yourself, you're always going to be all right. So yes, society has changed a lot. Yes, there are many, many brave people speaking and having the courage to come forward. But also on the flip side, if those people that have come forward and they're doing positive things and speaking positively, there are people that still want to bring those people down. There are that percentage of people that will be like, oh, like, you're weak, you're pathetic, or whatever.
Most of those people are struggling probably the worst.
100%. Yeah, so, but if you listen to those, people, if you listen to the critics, it's not really, if you do listen to those critics, you're not going to have your own self-value. So you have to understand what your values actually is within yourself, and that's when you'll be able to go on.
But maybe we are our own biggest critics. Because I always say, who are they? Where are they? Who are these people that are saying this? How many people have said that to you? Or is it something that we think that is being said? So these people may not be in masses of numbers. It might be one person that'll benefit and say, God, there's hundreds of them saying it. It might be just one person.
You repeat
but it's what we think of ourselves. So they actually probably don't exist. Or as big as you think they do.
I think that's a 100%. Great place to almost close that out, because as Leon was saying, if you forget the noise, whether those people exist or not, if you have love for yourself and you understand that, then it really don't matter. You can shut the noise out, believe in yourself and love yourself.
CBT works as well, so cognitive
behavioural therapy.
So that helps as well. That I've done a lot of CBT stuff, and that really does help transform a lot in your mind, and you change your thought process with certain things. But mindset. Yeah, mindset, exactly. Right, so thanks so much for listening, guys. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for coming on, Leon. Honestly, that was absolutely fantastic.
He needs to get a t-shirt that fits him next time.
Yeah. What are you trying to say, man?
Shut out the noise, Leon. Don't listen to him.
Don't worry, mate. Yeah. The thing is, I know. I know, my lord. I know.
Well, listen, guys, thanks so much for listening to another episode of Fighting on the Inside. And again, thank you so much, Leon. There's a lot of powerful stuff in there, and I think it really rings true with what we're trying to do here. If anybody out there is struggling, always speak up and get some help. Thank you, and we will see you next week.
God bless.